I did this the other day when I was presenting an end of quarter report to a client, where you can actually prompt Claude to actually pull all the data points, every single goal, every single event that we ran in an A/B testing campaign in VWO. And then you can literally prompt it to be like, cool, based on all of these experiments we ran, can you please give me an example of 5 more tests that I could iterate based on these past findings? We do find that we've got like more impactful test ideas when we've got the mixture of the behavioral insights with the quantitative data. Then the power comes in like super strong hypotheses that we actually score in this really structured framework, which allows us to then test the highest impact tests for the business. So VWO is incredible in the sense that it almost like we treat it as like a little CRO hub for our clients. You've got the AI features. You guys have all the kind of backlog of industry-specific case studies. Obviously, kind of the code editing and the visual editing aspects of VWO is a win as well for us. Our goal isn't to kind of, we don't want to make these clients dependent on us at all, but we want to kind of shift their mindset to be, let's test everything first and let's implement based on the data.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the VWO podcast. Recognized as a finalist in the CMA Awards 2025 for Best B2B Podcast. With hours of in-depth conversations, we talk about using CRO to deliver what your users want, while also driving long-term growth for your business. Before we speak to our guest, here's a very quick overview of what we do. VWO is a leading experience optimization platform that enables you to gather in-depth user insights and build winning experiences across your website and mobile app. VWO Copilot, our AI champion, handles the heavy lifting of suggesting test ideas, creating variations, and finding insights, so you can focus on making strategic decisions that drive growth. Now, without further delay, let's jump right back to this conversation.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to a new episode of the VWO podcast. Today, we're joined by Emily Isted, Director of CRO at Hype Digital. Very excited to have you on board with us today. Hype Digital is a leading conversion rate optimization agency based in South Africa, but operating globally, combining acquisition, CRO, and analytics to turn traffic into conversions, with a strong focus on understanding user behavior. In her role, Emily leads experimentation and optimization efforts, working with teams to improve user journeys, usability, and conversion outcomes. At Hype Digital, VWO is part of that experimentation workflow, helping guide decisions with data. She also brings a very clear perspective on how marketing is evolving, especially as more journeys shift toward a zero-click world where capturing and sustaining attention is becoming increasingly challenging. So, without further ado, Emily, let's begin our conversation. It's going to be an interesting one.
Awesome, Devon. Thanks so much. Yeah, very excited to be here. Kind of obviously co-hosting with VWO, and yeah, excited to dive in. We've got some interesting things to kind of bring to the table today, I think.
Absolutely. Before we do dive in now, I just wanted to ask you one or two things just to get to know you a bit better, let the audience get to know you a bit better, especially in terms of your journey. So sure. In terms of your CRO journey, is there a moment or a project that made you just think, yes, this is exactly why I love doing this?
Interesting one. I think it wasn't necessarily a project, but it was definitely like a moment that kind of clicked into place right at the beginning of my journey. It must have been about 4 years now, back when I first actually joined Hype on the PPC side of the business. We were just starting as the Hype team to actually build out and focus our attention on a CRO and how we could basically kind of restructure the CRO program and focus on actually bringing CRO to South Africa, because it wasn't CRO back then 4 years ago was barely a mention. I mean, we've got a little 2% interest now, but was barely a mention back then. So I think the shift for me in terms of, yes, this is what kind of my calling in terms of what I want to be doing right now, was when that transition happened from the paid side to the CRO side. Just for me, it just kind of makes sense in terms of we research, we hypothesize, we test something, and the data is so black and white, right? You can't kind of make up, there's no grayness in the data, you can't make up the data. So just to kind of have an absolute answer to a question that we, or rather a hypothesis that a team has put together, to have that absolute like, yes, this is the direction, or no, this is not the direction, but let's iterate because of X, Y, and Z. I just think my brain kind of works like that in general. I like the black and whiteness. So for me, it just kind of made sense to kind of venture and kind of dive headfirst into CRO, and here we are today.
Nice. I love that of the decision-making angle that CRO can bring. And I like it as well because it normally goes, after a while, it starts seeping into like everyday life. It's like, oh, I don't know if I should do that or if I want to do that, followed by, I'll just try it. I'll test it.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast yesterday evening actually about relationships, and the kind of psychologist was saying, you know, a new relationship, you're experimenting. Like everything in life is an experiment, and then you kind of, you work through like the analyses points, and then you kind of make a decision from there. So yeah, it's exactly that. It kind of filters into everything that we do.
That's brilliant. The CRO of dating, right?
Yeah.
I can see that as well, like the hypothesis, like someone says something, you're like, I wonder if. Test that.
I kind of have to be careful because I find myself just like capturing data about people all the time. So you've got to draw a bit of a line. Remember that we are human.
By real life session recordings.
Yeah, exactly.
As a kid then, like growing up, what did you imagine you'd be doing this? Like, did you think you'd end up in this sort of area, or at what point did like the marketing world?
Yeah, that's a good question, because my story is a little bit different from the norm, I think. But no, absolutely did not think I would be kind of directing like a CRO team at all. I didn't even know what CRO was, obviously, a couple of years ago. But no, I was like a performing artist, a creative, like a professional ballet dancer for years and years and years. I trained after school to kind of go in that direction, and I was lucky enough to get a lot of work around in South Africa, actually, in the business, in terms of films and companies and different dance companies and that sort of thing. And then I started studying Bachelor's of Business Administration and Marketing online while I was working, just to kind of expand the horizons, because I knew that the direction I wanted to head was marketing. And then kind of fell into agency life, was working with a Canadian agency prior, and then actually connected with Cam, who's the CEO at Hype, co-founder at Hype, because we actually know each other from high school days. And that's how kind of moved into the CRO space. So massive career shift a couple of years ago, but honestly, I haven't looked back in terms of like just the mental kind of enhancements and the everyday challenges, the learnings, the keeping up with AI and digital. I don't like to be bored, and this certainly caters for that. Ticks every box.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I think that's the fun part about CRO in general, right? Is that when you look at like what you've studied, so the business side there, it touches so many different areas and topics inside a business. And I guess like today, especially now, it's like so connected, this like omni-channel environment, users shifting from paid ads, organic search to social to direct visits to AI, zero click. All of that is it comes back to that knowledge that we learn, but now it's actually applicable and comes into everything we're doing in experimentation.
Exactly.
In that sense, how does that shape the way you approach experimentation now, especially that like omni-channel piece?
Yeah, listen, it's interesting. So obviously, I'm going to take a step back. So when we're onboarding, we obviously work with clients across all industries. So when we are onboarding a client, right, almost have to have like a 2-hour, we call it like a spaghetti session or discovery session with these clients, where we need to become kind of experts in their specific business industry case in the matter of like 2 hours. So I think having, that kind of receptiveness and adaptiveness in terms of keeping an open mind and willingness to kind of just absorb any sort of information around how these businesses are set up is super, super helpful. In terms of obviously then the omni-channel approach, right? It goes back to, yes, depending on which industry these clients are in, even depending on different businesses in the same industry, our approach to kind of a CRO program or experimentation with these guys are always super custom. So we're not the kind of agency to follow a blueprint approach. It just doesn't work. We haven't even tried that. It's not something that will ever work for us. So it comes down to kind of once we onboard the client, we kick off, we do a bunch of research, we actually start running these experimentation cycles, it comes down to a quarterly kind of strategic roadmap meeting with the client, where we're able to understand, we look at their kind of content calendar with them, we're able to understand when are they big sales, big campaigns on the e-com side, or maybe new products released on the product side, or maybe a new solutions on a SaaS client that's being released, or maybe on a lead gen client, say for a kind of Safari client that we deal with, they have a special running, right, where they want the user to book between X and Y date. So we kind of plan with the client according to different things in their roadmap, so big events in their calendar, kind of where our kind of umbrella focuses are going to be. And then we go into a bit of a kind of further deep dive into the different traffic source segments, because naturally we avoid running an experiment that's going to target all visitors. We like to, from the get-go, work in like traffic source, so segmentation-wise, so traffic source-based. A paid experience, so an experience on the website that we're sending paid users to looks very different to an experience we're sending organic visitors to. So we go quite deep from the beginning. We don't like to kind of waste our time focusing on an all-user approach.
Great. I love that. And I love the level of detail that you actually go into with your clients. But a 2-hour window to try and understand all of that, that's good going, right?
We move fast. Put it this way, it's like we had one yesterday. We had an onboarding session yesterday, and it's just your brain's got to be ready. It's got to know what's going to hit it. And then obviously kind of that information, as you start working with the client and the stress tests and all of that kind of get carried forth, it kind of all just settles in and you become quite proficient in the 3 months to come. But yeah.
Yes, I can imagine.
Quick moving.
That's funny. When you're working with clients that have maybe internal CRO teams already, so they're relatively mature, do you ever come across that? Like what you've mentioned is having like lots of different angles that you look at, and you can quickly put all of that together to understand where to start being targeted. When it comes to collecting behavioral data and then actually acting on it, do you find if you have a CRO team already in-house, they might collect the data, but they don't know how to act on it? Completely. Whereas, again, for you guys, you can come in and you go, right, well, we're going to take information from here, put that together to then just be very targeted. How do you overcome that gap with your clients?
Such a good question, because at the moment we've got a couple clients that don't necessarily have internal CRO teams, but they have in their eyes like guys that champion the CRO work with us, right? So it would be essentially like head of product or head of UX UI, and they have these amazing behavioral tools like the Insights product on VWO, like Microsoft Clarity, like Content Square. They're using these insights, right? Gathering all these insights. And then they do sit in like a backlog report that go unopened. Literally, we've seen it. So then kind of how we come in is we actually just, we actually bring forth like a structured optimization program, right? We bring that structure into the business. That literally it's like a simple PXL framework. So a test prioritization matrix. It's a scoring system that I'm sure all the listeners have heard about, a very universal thing in the CRO industry. We've kind of taken the traditional kind of pie framework and we've expanded it. So what we do is we hypothesize our A/B test strategies or ideas from these behavioral insights. But we do find that we've got like more impactful test ideas when we've got the mixture of the behavioral insights with the quantitative data. So with some GA4 data funnels that we're looking at, the combination of the behavioral with the quant, with the qualitative side as well. So like with the actual speaking to the user base, speaking to clients, speaking to the customer support team, combined all of those insights, then the power comes in like super, super strong hypotheses that we actually score in this really structured framework, which allows us to then test the highest impact tests for the business. And that's honestly, it's quite simple at the end of the day. That's all there is to it, that really structured framework.
I love it. It's quite simple, actually. It's I can tell you it's not, right?
But for us, in our everyday, it's become second nature.
Well, it should be. It should be in any CRO team, in any experimentation framework. The hypotheses, the data-backed decision making in there, the behavioral insights, the quantum, the qual, especially, like the combination of all of these is such a fundamental to running any of these sort of programs.
Exactly.
I know you're not shocked. And I was about to say you'd be shocked, but I think the audience would be shocked. I know we're not, with how many people actually don't combine all of those. They skip the hypotheses, and then they almost like backwards set the hypotheses afterwards. Or they have these amazing tools giving them the insights, but then they don't use them. As you said, they're in a backlog somewhere. So
it's, and I just want to make one more point on that. It is interesting because we're at the point now, right, where we're running quite mature experimentation programs with a lot of our legacy clients since probably like beginning of 2024. And now these guys, they're so like kind of one with the experimentation like thinking that if maybe someone new joins the team and does pitch an experiment that isn't data backed, they're like, hey guys, where's the data? Like, we want to see the data. Bring me those 3 data points. Like, come on, like, so it's awesome to see the shift in the mindsets of these clients.
That's so nice. And that's the democratizing data that comes from running like a strong CRO principles, which is great. How are you seeing the impact of AI on that then? Like, is it added meaningful value to Hype or to your day to day, and where is it maybe still falling short for you?
Yeah. That's the hot topic at the moment, AI. It's almost like we always joke and we say we need to actually hire someone in our agency whose full-time job it is to be keeping up with all these AI releases and actually ensuring that we embed those into our systems, because it is a full-time job the way things are moving with it. But yeah, listen, we've really taken on to adapting Claude into the business. So kind of our main win around Claude is the MCPs. Okay, so we have, as you said in the beginning, at Hype, we've got 3 core service offerings: the analytics, the paid, and the CRO. So these Claude MCPs allow us to actually centralize all the data points, right? Google Ads, Meta Ads from a client, our actual VWO testing, web testing data, as well as behavioral data, either from VWO Insights, wherever it may be from. We can centralize this data, and it allows for like easier cross-silo work between our PPC team, between our CRO team. We've all got access to this data in a centralized point. It can help us actually then basically strategize based on the cold hard data that we mentioned at the beginning. I think a massive kind of pro in the AI direction is the research, honestly, the research synthesis. So what it has allowed us to do on the research side. So instead of taking, honestly, 3 weeks to do manual online review scraping, as an example, right? When we're scouting all kind of online review sources for a client and its competitors, when we deepen the research, we can literally do that with a click of the button now in a matter of minutes or seconds. So little pieces like that, it's really allowed us to save time. In the beginning, we used to have to cross-check a lot of the work just to ensure that it was accurate, but now kind of the AI is getting better and better. When it comes to actually doing kind of manual scoring, like I mentioned, the PXL framework. So instead of doing all that manual scoring, AI does that all for us now. So just phenomenal. Honestly, probably saved about 15 hours of work time a week with AI usage at the moment. The falling short, it's interesting. Design has been, we've been trying to see how we can actually use various AI tools to push out our CRO like test design screens faster. But obviously with Claude release, Claude Design has just released a really, really powerful tool. Again, our designer can manually design a design that we desire faster than Claude can, because you've got to have the right kind of design library set up. And so right now we're still happy with our really amazing kind of design team. Design is lacking for sure. The devs use the code-based kind of AI tools a hell of a lot to enhance and speed up their coding. Honestly, we're using it in all facets of the business and seeing the adoption with our clients as well, quite fast. As an example, one of our Safari clients, they've actually incorporating an AI chatbot that is kind of embodying their CEO and basically has like the voice of their CEO kind of thing. So really cool little projects like that happening as well that we're dealing with.
Nice. That's cool. And I love the fact that you're leveraging the MCP there to actually bring everything into one centralized location.
Yeah,
I think that
super strong.
That has so much value. Yeah. So nice. speaking of chatbots and AI chatbots, I don't know if you saw, but maybe it's been fixed now, but the McDonald's chatbot, at one point you could say, oh, I'm going to order this, but before that, could you give me the whole code for this? And you could actually put a normal prompt in there and it would still output that and then say, and would you like Coke with that? So
Crazy, I didn't see that.
yeah, that was a
Wild.
funny one. It's like, as everyone's getting into the AI piece, it's
Yeah.
like things that have been rolled out too quickly without actually being quality
Checked.
assured and stuff.
Yeah, QA'd,
So,
yeah, we've got to be so
exactly.
careful now.
That's quite funny. Speaking of being able to pull everything into one place then and run some really cool experiments based on all of this information, and also then with the speed that AI is bringing to that, can you look back and think of any like really high impact experiments or maybe even multiple ones? And then if there's like any sort of commonality in that.
Yeah, no, this is actually a point of a discussion in my CRO team at the moment, because what we kind of doing a bit of a historical look at the last quarter and really unpacking what's been working and what hasn't been working. And it's really evident to see that, like, if we're running, as an example, kind of small 6 iterative tests on a client, those small iterative tests in terms of like actual conversion impact are not doing the job. So now we're kind of changing strategies and we're going like, guys, even if we got to take 30 hours in the month to focus a build on a big swing, right? So a massive change that's really actually going to move the needle. Maybe it is completely reshuffling like a navigation menu based on how we know users are actually searching, right? Obviously all data backed, but now, we're kind of changing strategy to move from small iterative to massive big swings. They've honestly probably 2-3 that come to mind in the last kind of year that we've seen massive impacts on. First one was a local iGaming client and leveraging a bit of personalization. So what we would do is when a new user signs up or registers, they get a little bonus overlay, and they can either select a kind of a sports bonus or like a casino type bonus. Whichever bonus they choose, we would then carry forth that bonus messaging in the form of banners across various like high point traffic pages on the site. And as soon as we had those like powerful banners with that like kind of first time deposit bonus messaging, we saw our actual deposit rate increase by 20%. And those guys only kind of care about obviously deposit rates and purchase and revenue. So that was really, really massive. 5 simple banners, high traffic points on the site based on personalization. The kind of the numbers were outstanding. And then another interesting one was quite a big local kind of travel company where the user was kind of working through a 8-step process to actually book a flight. And they had no idea on the control, so their original website, they had no idea about how long this journey was going to take them. So how many steps were in this journey before they were actually able to book their flights and have their kind of flight number in front of them. So we decided to add a really nice feature, a little kind of a navigation feature at the top of the website where we would have labeled steps 1 to 8 and what each step kind of entailed. And this just kind of really added that security and that guiding kind of feeling that these users needed to convert. So I think there was a 5% increase in actual flights booked, which translated to honestly, in a day, I work in rands, honestly over 100,000 rand plus in terms of additional flights booked. So really, really massive in terms of like a big win there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. There's 2 really lovely examples. One that sort of like breadcrumb trail, really relatively easy to implement. But in terms of that, as you said there, that sort of that safety feeling that you get. Because I do find like booking flights, and I'm terrible for this, and I get given a lot of abuse for it.
Yeah.
By someone very close to me, of booking the flight, turning up on the wrong day, missing the flight, or having to rebook the flight.
Yeah.
And that's typically because I do go back and forth whilst booking to double check stuff. And that can often lead to other numbers being like cached and then being redisplayed, and then I'm booking the wrong stuff. And so I'll triple check because I get nervous about it. But now like I've missed it, so that's a pain for me.
Exactly. And of course, like we're all going to kind of like embody the behavior that you just described, because flights these days are such a high ticket item. You want to ensure that everything's correct. So you need to have an environment online, probably mostly on desktop, not really on mobile with flights, but people do book on their mobile. But yeah, just having kind of the user needs to feel secure, safe. They need to know what's coming. They need to be able to go back, but then kind of be guided to the end of the journey. So yeah, it was a really nice win.
It is really nice. And I think there's so many, especially on low cost airlines, there's so many options now. And there's so many like upsell opportunities, which are really frustrating for me because I'm just like, no, skip.
And honestly, those are the funnest to play around with when it comes to testing, because like
I'm sure.
Yeah, the data gathered there for these airlines, it's insane.
Yeah, I'm sure there's loads you can play with there. That must be really fun to dig into. And then with the gaming one, the idea of doing this almost like a multi-page like funnel test with everyone. This is something that I feel I don't see enough of.
Yeah.
That what is the, not just on this page what happens, but what is the impact of having this messaging follow someone through the website?
Exactly.
So it's very normalized for them by the end of their journey through there.
And obviously keeping in mind like the journey before, like the part of the journey before they got into the website. So integrating and streamlining the ad that they see, the messaging on that ad, because we also obviously manage the paid side. So we have access to control all of that. So ensuring that journey is fully integrated is the results kind of, you can't compare to a journey that's not integrated. It actually goes into that kind of omni-channel experience track we mentioned at the beginning, because honestly, we're at the point now where we can't really be optimizing pages or optimizing specific landing pages, or you're optimizing a journey. That's how we look at it at Hype now. Like you're optimizing a user journey. So it's almost like you're working from like kind of top to bottom now, like user in your journey instead of just like a kind of static page in a way.
Yeah, 100%. And I was just imagining, you mentioned the Safari client of yours, because I can imagine like I'm scrolling through Instagram and then I see some really cool imagery for that Safari.
Beautiful animals. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, cool, I'm gonna click on that and see if I can find the link. I find the link and I go through to the website. I think for me, I'd want to go specifically to that Safari that I'm seeing the imagery from. Like almost like a deep link into there. And then I can look at the prices, I can look at where it is and all of that. So it's very relevant information from where my journey began.
Totally.
And I guess there's an additional bit in there as well of, okay, I've now landed there. I also need to feel like it's the same sort of branding. So I carry the trust from Instagram into there to know it's the same place.
100%. And that's where it can get so interesting as well, right? Because we can be testing at like a campaign level, like a paid level, and on the website level. So we can run the same sort of tests by splitting the traffic to an exact Safari page or to homepage, but we work from kind of the top to bottom now. So I'm working at a campaign level. So like we go on a Google Ads audience, for example. We've got the prospecting type audience, or let's rather work with Meta. We've got a prospecting type campaign, which is more like educational based about the company, versus an actual conversion campaign, which would be that exact Safari page. So then we can start like actually splitting the traffic at a campaign level as well, which gets really interesting.
That's great. Yeah, that's really nice. Typically, what do you see when you're doing that? Because I love the fact that we're talking about the conversion journey starting way before someone actually hits your app or your website. But it's from everything else. And I find that attribution between your off-site journeys or experiences, typically people forget that when they get onto the website or to the app, they need to continue that experience. So the fact that you have control from that like top level all the way through is so nice, because I feel like it's just forgotten about otherwise.
Completely. And it's fully like, it's interesting because it fully shapes the paid strategies as well. Because say we're running 70% of paid traffic to the homepage, 30% of paid traffic to an exact Safari page. We can see immediately if there's enough data in terms of what's working versus not working. And then when these guys are launching new types of campaigns, they can then take the learnings from previous campaigns and then structure the traffic accordingly. And it filters like into Safari level, it filters into actual kind of education level. Like there's so many different like filters that kind of can go into. Yeah, you can get into a little bit of a maze, but the learnings are just endless, which is what we're here to do, right?
Oh, it sounds like a great maze.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of all pre-bucketing or pre-segmenting people for their experiments before they even hit the site. Like that's a really, really nice place to be or to be operating. In terms of like the sort of KPIs then that teams should be looking at to actually track real business impact. I feel like if we're only talking about conversion rate optimization, people just think of clicks or like basic conversions or funnel conversions, stuff like that. But when it's tied together in the approach that you're doing, does that change? Do you look at different parts?
Yeah, that's where it gets you need to be like quite strategic in the way that we're presenting this data to the client. So we've in the last kind of few months really migrated towards lifetime value of a user. Okay. So lifetime value. Okay, so let's actually just take a step back. So again, it's going to be obviously industry based, right? Econ, your KPIs and metrics are going to look very different to like a lead gen and a SaaS client. It also, what we do, taking a further step back, is when we obviously chat to the client in terms of a product or a testing roadmap, a product roadmap for the next 3 months. We like to bucket our experiments to be more engagement based in terms of metrics as well as conversion based. So always ensuring that if the client, if that's something they're interested in, we are going to be running engagement type experiments, which are maybe something as an example, would be on that iGaming client, right? The navigation menu at the top of the screen on mobile would become sticky as the user scrolls in an experiment, and we would change kind of the UI. We want to reduce the amount of screen space that sticky navigation menu is taking up. And we want to change where the little bonus gift is sitting. So we want to change like the user interface there. That's an engagement type test. And we really want to ensure that we're able to kind of report on as many metrics as possible to the client, because the beauty of these CRO tests, these A/B tests, these clients are having access to data that they never had before. So they never, like a lot of these guys don't have like tracking set up to that level in terms of all those little engagement metrics. But on the conversion side, we found that obviously like kind of revenue per visitor is kind of the kind of North Star metric that you want to be kind of reporting on. And with that comes a kind of quarterly forecasted revenue per user metric as well. So we find that as long as we're reporting really heavily focused on kind of revenue per user and forecasted revenue per user uplift to the client every 3 months, and they can see that value, they're happy. Now we've gone one level deeper, and we're looking at kind of, as I mentioned, the lifetime value aspect of these users. So in a lead gen client, for example, we would actually ensure that our testing tool, VWO, Convert, whichever testing tool we're working with, is linked to the CRM, right, via an integration, whether it's already there or if it's customized, we'd have to kind of do a bit of dev work. We link that through. Then we're able to actually take the test ID, the user ID in the experiment, and ensure that that's linked up to the actual kind of CRM ID. And that allows us then to follow through with that lifetime value metric, all the way from kind of ad to website to CRM. And depending where, if it's a lead gen client, as I mentioned, depending where the deal or lead is sitting in the actual kind of CRM pipeline. So that's been super powerful as well in terms of just closing that feedback loop in reporting for CRO and getting really like, ongoing kind of retention with clients that way.
Yeah, I like the focus on lifetime value. I like the focus on almost the unit economics there of the revenue per user. I think that's really cool metrics for people to be thinking about. Are there any vanity metrics you see people use and you're like,
you know what? Not really, because again, it's test dependent. So like, super test dependent. So as I mentioned, if it's engagement, then we really want to be actually like tracking and reporting on those specific clicks, because the whole point was to increase the clicks on the cart, for example. So kind of, our focus is always, and we always go in with the mindset, like rather report on too many metrics than too few metrics. So I don't want to be like looking at data of 3 metrics. I want to have 15 kind of events that we're reporting on. So yeah, that's kind of how we look at it.
Nice. Okay. And you mentioned a couple of testing tools throughout that. I'm going to focus on VWO naturally.
Of course.
And I know you use VWO in your experimentation workflow. Has it changed the way that you work with data or insights? And I'll focus a bit on for VWO, we have it all under like one roof. I'm not sure if you are probably integrating with other tools there, but does that impact your workflow? Is it helpful?
Absolutely.
Or is there any other parts of VWO that you use? That's useful.
No.
You mentioned the MCP server.
No. Yeah, it's a big one to unpack. So VWO is incredible in the sense that it almost like we treat it as like a little CRO hub for our clients, in the sense that on VWO, you've got the kind of all the necessary form fields to fill in your hypothesis when you're hypothesizing for a test. You create your goals, your client-specific goals, obviously all the events and metrics that you're going to be tracking. With VWO as an example as well, right? You've got the AI features that allow you to kind of scrape the client in question's website to give you some ideas around testing strategies. You guys have all the kind of backlog of industry-specific case studies. So it literally is like a hub of information, like a knowledge sharing, case study information. So it's almost like it's such an easy sell to our clients, because it does give the user everything in one. Obviously, we use the Insights product for a lot of our clients as well, which allows that integrated kind of behavioral and analysis part of the experimentation to be really, really nicely closely linked to our experiments. So that's super powerful. Obviously, kind of the code editing and the visual editing aspects of VWO is a win as well for us. We generally do use just the code base because we've got our devs that actually build these kind of quite high impact tests in the code editor themselves. Again, MCP is like super powerful in the way that it's changed the way we can approach work. It allows us, it's amazing. I did this the other day when I was presenting an end of quarter report to a client, where you can actually prompt Claude to actually pull all the data points, every single goal, every single event that we ran in a campaign, an A/B testing campaign in VWO. It lists out every single goal and lists out the actual lift for each event. And then you can literally prompt it to be like, cool, based on all of these experiments we ran, we had 5 out of 10 winners, and that resulted in 20% more revenue for the business. Now, can you please actually strategize, maybe give me an example of 5 more tests that I could run that are enhanced, or 1 level up that I can iterate based on these past findings. So that is super, super powerful for us, because it basically allows us to kind of go forth with an idea that Claude has come up with based on the data that we've run, like actual test data, and then gives us like a little kickoff in terms of where our brains can go in terms of strategy. So that's really, really amazing for us. We don't have to kind of be pulling these strategies kind of ourselves, but we've got a little bit of an, as I said, like a kickoff and like a strategy kind of idea that we can then run with and build on.
Oh, that's really fun. That's a really nice way to leverage that MCP server as well. So that's cool to hear about how you're doing that. I'm sure some people are going to steal.
Yeah, no, geez, I'm there. I'm not gatekeeping that. People must. It's phenomenal. And also, I think the power of that MCP, specifically your guys, is when you do have like a test product with VWO, but you also have the Insights product. It levers both, so it pulls in all that data and kind of combines it. So that's really, really helpful.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome. Sounds like we might find a case study in there somewhere.
Always. Let's do it.
And on the topic of AI then as well, zero-click environments, which are becoming very, very normal these days, maybe some less traffic to websites, arguably much more focused traffic when it does land. But how's that shift in behavior impacting what the team does or what the CRO team focuses on?
Yeah, it's a super, super interesting one. So honestly, we're keeping AI and like our strategies are changing now because of AI, in the sense that, as an example, our Safari clients that we spoke about, we've got a few, but the one that we've been speaking about today, they had one of their biggest bookings this year in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars a booking made from a ChatGPT search. So someone in America had never been to Africa before, and they basically prompted ChatGPT, where are the best safari companies in Africa, or where are the best kind of camps? Like, give me some advice. Our client was pulled into ChatGPT. They made a booking, and yeah, it was their biggest kind of booking, which is huge. So now kind of our whole strategy based on that knowledge from the client in terms of the fact that it was their biggest booking, our whole strategy for that client has changed in the sense that now we obviously, right, with AI, you don't, as the agency or client, you can't decide where on the website that kind of AI user is sent to. We have no control over that, but we are able to kind of ensure that we're setting up the websites and the inquiry form in the case of a lead gen client well enough to be able to then ensure that the user is sent where we need them to be sent. So what I mean by that is really ensuring that every single kind of landing page on the website, everywhere that we're sending traffic to on the website has a nice, clear CTA inquire now button that links the user to the inquiry form, because we want to be sending the AI users straight to the inquiry form. We want them to inquire. We don't even want them to kind of double guess like this guy did in America. Yep. So another way I think as well that we're changing strategies is we have to ensure that like every single page on our website is already fully prioritized in terms of an optimization type approach to the page, right? Because these users are arriving on the page. They've already decided that they want to potentially go forth with this. There's no need for education. So we need to kind of just ensure that we're kind of getting them through the funnel as quickly as possible. So a big thing there is things like your trust, your credibility sources, obviously on the page themselves, but also, and above the fold, and they need to be visible on the page, but also all mentions of like PR, any like SEO. Honestly, SEO practices right now are still important because of the whole kind of AI search now. So I think it's all kind of, as I said, ties into one big maze, but definitely reshaping the way that we're approaching our CRO strategies, which has been interesting, and we're only right at the beginning of that now.
I love what you said around the education bit. The education is happening almost off-site now. So people coming in via that channel, it's like, okay, they're already educated. They've done their research. Obviously they've used their AI to get there, but they're almost a high trust
user. And then it's been very interesting to kind of watch on like a Google Analytics tool to see how every month the traffic from AI sources are slowly increasing across the clients. So then allowing ourselves to then adapt AI-specific strategies in terms of a completely different landing page for an AI-based user versus a new user. Again, it goes into kind of, they're forming now a big part of our segmentation strategies as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes so much sense. And you mentioned there about you can see in Google where people are coming from naturally. Are you seeing, and it might be industry relevant or like profile relevant, it might not be, if users come from ChatGPT or from Claude or from somewhere else, are they behaving differently?
Yeah, definitely. Right. Listen, it's definitely a bit like premature in terms of there hasn't been that much time spent on analyzing the different kind of behaviors across the actual different sources yet. But I can definitely see at a high level, different kind of AI sources, behaviors different. Like the Claude users kind of a lot more in depth. They tend to honestly stay on the websites more, which is interesting. ChatGPT, this is super interesting, seems to be more of like a quick research and they don't really follow through. But it's interesting. Okay. The Claude guys seem to be a bit more kind of in depth. But honestly, very early days there.
Yeah. Okay. Literally, it's probably confirmation bias there. I'm like, when I'm using Claude, it is typically for code, or when I'm going deep technical on something, and then I'm like, when I do put a like personal query into Claude, it's normally because I'm being lazy and I'm not switching. Because I would switch to ChatGPT for just like day-to-day, almost conversational research. Right?
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I've slowly been seeing myself, people around me, the adoption of, especially kind of the younger generation, the adoption of moving fully away from Googling anything. And now your Google is these AI tools because of the information at hand. So the landscape is changing fast and furiously. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that is affecting conversion at the end of the day. Because I don't know if enough, all of us yet, are bringing in that kind of that AI audiences into our segmentation strategies and the forecasting. So it's an interesting space right now.
Yeah, I don't think enough people are talking about it. And fascinating, building the profile. Because when we talk about like what is the ideal profile, and then we talk about, meet Mary. Mary is
the user personas.
But I don't know if people are talking about user personas of Mary is a big user of Claude.
That's
I don't
so
know if
true.
we talk about that.
That's going to become a thing. I'm going to definitely bring that into our
I think we've just coined it. So
yeah, I'm going to brief my team tomorrow into our user psychology framework. Start bringing in the Claude personas. I love that.
Brilliant. Fantastic. It's quite funny. Curious to know then, when you're working with businesses, when you're bringing experimentation into these businesses to help work with them, talking about personas, talking about omni-channel and conversion across that whole user experience, do you see businesses evolve in their thinking over time? I think you actually mentioned one earlier where you said one of your clients now is always like, okay, what's the data that backs up that hypothesis? Like, where has that idea come from? Do you see that change happen a lot?
Definitely. So when we do first start working with, let's speak to South African markets now. So the CRO industry is less well known here. There's a bit more education that needs to be done for these internal teams when we start working with them when we onboard. As soon as we get those initial, we call them stress tests, the tests that come before the actual research is done, right? Just to get some quick wins out the way, to get those we run an AA test to check all the data is tracking correctly. Once those initial quick wins after the AA test are out the way, then we go forth with the research and dive into these kind of bigger strategic type tests. So as soon as we the guys internally kind of fall into our experimentation cycle, we can really, really start to see the shift in the mindset. So a lot of people kind of join us because maybe the marketing team or the UX UI design team really want to be pushing a change live on the website, but they have maybe the product team kind of opposing them. So it's interesting right now, and the landscape here is very much like the business then resorts to bringing on a CRO team to run experiments to be able to give the company-wide silo like teams data on, guys, yes, we should push this live versus we shouldn't push this live. And yes, marketing actually should push this campaign on the homepage, even though it doesn't work for the product team. So it's been amazing to see as us coming in, kind of data capturing, like when we're in each client's teams, understanding how the different teams are set up, how we can actually leverage CRO to work for them. So that's a big part of it as well. What was the question again? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did, but I'm just gonna flow on from what you said there. So essentially, you're able to go in and break down some silos for people by using the data and giving them a way to communicate and essentially stop any politics between them. So not what's best for product, not what's best for marketing, but what's best for the company.
Exactly. And
that's
Devon,
quite fun.
Yeah, to add to that, it was interesting. Like when we started with, honestly, one of the biggest one of our biggest e-com clients is a clothing company, and they're one of the biggest brick and mortar stores in the country, nationwide. And they've recently just kind of tapered on to online and selling online on a Shopify store. And when we onboarded them last year, they were honestly only making changes on the website if they had a new campaign going live that needed a landing page. Or if maybe, as it goes like the head of marketing was like, no, we need a new homepage kind of thing. But it was only when we really came in did they have that kind of structure and that like ability to actually create a bit of like testing cadence, which was amazing to see. Now we had a conversation with them today when the guys are like, cool, that shop the look feature that we're running a test on in the cart, we really want to ensure that that is now dynamic across the website. So now they know that they need to go back to their dev team and ask for a specific API to be created that allows us to then test this shop the look feature to be kind of dynamic. So now they've kind of cornered on or kind of hopped on this testing train. And not only one has it been amazing to see the shift in the mindsets internally. Because remember, our goal isn't to kind of, we don't want to make these clients dependent on us at all, but we want to kind of shift their mindset to be, let's test everything first and let's implement based on the data. So that's definitely happened with these guys. And then two, as we get kind of deeper and deeper into the tests and like the segmentations and the analyses that we keep speaking on, then these guys, the internal guys that we're dealing with, head of product, head of marketing, their minds just roll with ideas, and they come to us with ideas kind of more and more each month based on like the more into the program that they get, the more learnings that they start to get, not even just wins, but learnings from losses as well. They get so excited. So yeah, it's really, really cool to see all of that unfold.
I love that level of collaboration. And I like the fact it's like, no, we're trying to step back to let you guys have that yourselves, but actually all it's doing is inspiring them to come to you with even more ideas. So
Totally. And like, yeah, the power honestly of the behavioral tools and the experimentation to get things over the line in terms of like bigger strategic business, maybe roadblocks that previously were roadblock. As an example, I'm going to get quite specific with an example here because I want to unpack what I'm saying. So basically, the same guys in question, a big e-com brand, we were seeing massive drop off for new. So we were running experiments between new users and returning users, right? So it's segmenting different user groups. We were seeing drop off at checkout of new users 5 times more than drop off of returning users. And the friction at checkout was because a user couldn't actually check out without signing up. There was no guest checkout option. So we're able to build such a clear business case for the business based on the behavioral data and the tests that we're running as to why we needed to actually push this change live for the business, which previously they just didn't want that live because they actually wanted the data that the actual sign up allowed them to kind of have access to once a user signed up. But when we could prove the value of having on the actual conversion purchase rates of having this guest checkout, they were mind blown. So little things like that, really, that's what makes our work exciting and honestly what gets us up in the morning, I think.
Yeah, it's such a nice example. As soon as you were describing what was going on, I was like, they're forcing sign up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then it's like, yep, they just need the guest sign up. But then obviously you can still track those returning users anyway. So it's like they're still returning, they're probably still converting high.
Exactly.
And then maybe they'll go for the sign up.
Exactly. And we just don't lose them initially anymore like we were. We're losing 20% of them.
Which takes you back round to that lifetime value again, which is so important. I love that. One of my pet peeves is newsletter signups.
I know.
I'm a brand new person exploring your website, and literally as I've landed, I've not been able to explore because I have to hit X on your newsletter. I don't know you. I'm not going to sign up to annoying stuff yet.
The first thing we do with our ecom clients, we're like, guys, remove that pop-up, have it in the footer of the website. People will sign up if they want to. Don't scare them away. That's generally the first.
The only time I think I would find it okay, but I'd also say that it needs testing, is to have it at checkout of if you sign up, then you get 10%. I'm also probably against that because I could argue that, I don't want people to be sidetracked from the conversion.
Checkout,
because they're now in that purchasing mode, so I don't want them to then go and sign up.
Devon, the beauty of testing, right? How do you know unless you test?
It might work perfectly for your audience, not for someone else's.
Exactly.
That's good. Well, I'm glad we're aligned on the newsletter thing. That's great.
Good to know. Take away from today, newsletter alignment.
Yeah. Don't do it. Right.
Yeah.
No. If you started working with a new client today, what would be the like shift in mindset or approach that you would say is the biggest thing to changing outcomes? And I think you've probably touched on it a few times tonight already, or today.
I definitely have touched on a point around like we do kind of educate the clients on, we're not testing to win, we're testing to learn. So if a test, it's been kind of interesting to see the guys adopt that. So if a test, if it doesn't win, why didn't it win? How can we iterate it to maybe hopefully try and make it win again? So just embodying the mindset of not testing to win, but testing to learn is a massive one. And then, and I think another big one for us is a lot of our clients naturally, right? They're in-house. They kind of live, eat, breathe, sleep this brand that they're working for, whether it's their brand, whether it's someone else's brand. They're kind of very attached to the brand. So we kind of, with our strategy now that we conduct of like big impact changes, big swing changes, risky changes that are going to move the needle, they need to trust us to be like, guys, we're the experts here. Based on all the research we have done, this is what we propose. It's going to move the needle for you. You need to remember, we're not designing and deving this test to be implemented in the live environment. We're deving and designing it to run in a test environment with the real users on your site or your platform, because we can only really learn if we're testing in a real environment. So we have to say to them, listen, if you're feeling a little bit scared or like it's a bit risky, let's run the traffic split 20-80. So 80 to the original and 20 to the test. So we just really work with them to get them to where we need them to kind of match us in terms of riskiness versus brand versus traffic split. And then we guide them through and we say, look, the data is amazing. Look at this, all this kind of data coming to the variant. We're making you more money. Let's kind of increase the traffic split. So I think it's just changing the mindset from, listen, we're testing. And then we're not pushing anything live, we're testing. And it's only going to benefit you guys at the end of the day.
I love that. And it's just such a strong message as well. So I think just moving that focus away, and even that conversation there about risk. So what is your risk tolerance? Like, are we going in hard? Are we going in fast with velocity and learning so we can just keep iterating? Or are we going to take a more cautious approach, which both work and both can be very specific to the industry? I know insurance might have a little, like, massive amount of traffic, so they only need to put 2% of their traffic to go through the test.
Exactly.
And then to increase that.
It's actually such a good, I don't think we've actually ever asked a client, like, what is your risk? What word did you use? You had risk assurance. You said, like, how risky do you want to be?
Risk tolerance.
Risk tolerance. It's such a good, literally, to say it to them like that, like, how tolerant are you to risk? I'm going to ask them. That's going to be my next client meeting.
It's a nice one, because I will use it when I'm talking to mainly like low traffic sites, and I'll say, okay, like, there's 95% statistical significance. That's what everyone looks at. On a low traffic site, we might want to lower what our statistical significance needs to be. That's, again, tolerance for risk. Are we happy to hit 80 and then just move on? Or does it need to be 95? Because a lot of people quote the 95 without knowing where it comes from.
Completely, yeah. So exactly. We can actually lower that to 80 and kind of get less data in and move on.
We can move, yes. Because Mary, our ideal marketing profile, she uses Claude, but she's got a great tolerance for risk.
And she hates newsletter signups.
And she hates newsletters there. Don't go there. That's, Emily, we're towards the end of our time together for today. So some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, let's hit them.
Some of them are funny, some of them not so funny. One CRO metric you wish people would just stop obsessing over?
That's a tricky one. Because honestly, none of them. Drop off, bounce, engagement, time spent on page. I'm not going to actually not answer. I like all metrics.
Okay.
Yeah, I like all metrics.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna give one though. Mine's actually just revenue, just like the flat revenue number.
Okay, and fair. Yeah.
The hard conversion of flat revenue number, and especially in e-commerce, on the basis of it doesn't always capture returns.
Yeah, this is true.
And people don't factor that piece of information in. I think it's important to look at, but when people obsess over it, I'm always like, okay, but are we assessing over the right metric at that first conversion, or do we actually just need to capture some later stuff?
Yeah, and I guess, one to add on there is overall kind of conversion rate. And if it's a purchase, if it's a kind of a lead, purely because it's epic to show if the test does win, that actual conversion rate lift in the test. But then there's so many environmental factors at play externally when it comes to actually then monitoring that. Should the change be implemented, monitoring that conversion rate is very fickle. So yeah.
And there's that piece as well about just keeping a part of the population on before we started any testing. Before we did anything, can we just keep them as like a subset of loyal users that just keep coming back, and then versus the rest who we've now iterated upon?
Tested, yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, one thing your non-industry friends still don't understand about your job.
They don't know what I do. I was sitting next to some clients, some friends at a co-working space a couple weeks ago, and they said, Emily, I have no idea what you do, but you sound like you're very good at your job. And I said, thanks, guys. I'm not going to explain it to you. They have no idea.
I've tried so many times, even like just beyond my role itself, but actually just conversion rate optimization. Yeah. And I try so hard, and I think I make it so simple, but people just go, I know you've explained it to me, and at the time I think I got it, but I can't get it now.
The best is when you go to the parents generation and you're trying to explain an A and a B variant on a website, and they're like, no, no hope.
I had a breakfast not too long back. I just staying in a B&B overnight, and I was talking to a guy the next day, and he was a physiotherapist. Mm-hmm. And he was like, so what do you do? And so I tried to explain, and he was just like, yeah. He just went, not really physical, is it? It's like, you can't, it's not tangible. And I was like, okay.
You're not sticking needles into anyone or massaging anyone. No.
Yeah. He's like, okay,
funny.
I'm not going to try to understand that. So
as long as they're honest, it's fun. It's funny.
Yes.
It's sweet. I did connect with my physio. Sorry, I did connect with my physio the other day on AI, and he's really leveraging AI in that practice, with the transcription of notes and like the email to clients, and it was quite amazing. I was like, wow, you're really new age physio.
That's really cool. I was going to say one thing that AI will probably take over in the next 2 years, but apparently it's physiotherapy. So,
there we go.
to be fair, they've got the robots, the remote control robots now for like doctors, and they're really precise. So I wonder if,
did you see,
so bad.
Was it in China the other day that a little robot ran a 21K, a half marathon, and he won? He outran by 20 minutes. Lucky him. Got to have fit heart rate. AI overtaking things, sure. Hey, honestly, never the people. So we're always going to need the strategy. You're always going to need, in our business, in our line of work, the strategy behind what we're doing. But the tools are going to take away a lot of the manual stuff for sure. But we'll always need humans. We're always going to need for the client interactions, the conversations, the strategy.
I think the creativity as well. Because when I think of AI for me is always backwards processing. It's like it can be trained on everything up till right now. And it can maybe predict, and it can maybe give suggestions, but those suggestions are always trained on things that already exist.
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
Rather than, I feel like humans in general have it.
Yeah, the fresh, the new.
Can weird or wacky until it's not weird, until it's normalized.
That's very true.
I always think of Picasso for this example of when Picasso started doing his stuff, people probably went, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could ever, I don't think AI could really just come up with that. Picasso did.
That's very true.
Because it's too weird.
And then people ended up buying it because it was weird. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's very true.
If you weren't in CRO or ballet, what would you be doing now?
Maybe running a safari camp, honestly.
Optimizing the website.
Maybe being like a guide in a safari camp out in nature. Honestly, the outside.
I think you can tag your client and be like, oh, by the way.
No, we've got a really good relationship with them, and she's like, if you want a partner discount, let me know. So that's exciting. But something outdoors, hey, something outdoors.
Yeah, that's always. I think that anyone who works behind a laptop probably say something similar. For anyone who's looking to start a career in CRO today, what advice would you give them? Or like maybe one thing you would have done differently moving into it?
I think, it's interesting because so in South Africa, right? We have to hire guys in the CRO space that maybe aren't that experienced because we don't have many CRO experienced members down here. So if we're hiring in locally, then we have to actually hire the type of people that are very strategic, that are very curious, and that are able to learn quickly, because what we do is learnable if you have enough curiosity and enough creativity. And I think someone that is interested in CRO kind of needs to be able to be quite like full-bodied in terms of strategic mindset, super organized, great with clients and communication with clients and with internal teams. So it's kind of like, honestly, you're kind of doing a little bit of everything. You're doing the project management, account management, a bit of ops stuff. So it really is, in terms of like a career stepping stone, or a kind of a career direction, it's quite a strong one and an exciting one for sure. Yeah.
So always changing. So I always think as well as CRO, in a way, you're not necessarily at the forefront of technology, but you are at the forefront of the internet. Like your operating space is there. So you're like a bit like having to really learn how to use AI, or use AI in all of your workflows and stuff. You're always there.
Yeah, when things like, cookies change, or when we have to move them from like third party to first party cookies, internet based, like we're led by what's happening on the internet. So being super adaptable. So someone who doesn't like change would not be a good fit. So someone who's adaptable and open-minded, I'd say, and curious.
That's nice. That's really nice advice. And then any final thoughts or messages you'd like to share with the audience before we conclude?
I think I really want to, it's on my list for this year. It's been a bit of a busy start to the year, but it's on my list for the rest of the year, is to just knowledge share. So connect with people in your space as much as you can. Pop someone on LinkedIn who you really enjoy, maybe their content, or pop them a message, set up a little 15-minute chat with them. I've done that in the past with a couple CRO business owners and a couple kind of big guys in the CRO space. And it's been amazing to see the camaraderie in the industry and how open people are to sharing, maybe learnings that they've learned, what's working for them, what's not working for them. So yeah, just keep sharing really with each other and connecting with each other wherever you can, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. I like the keep sharing as well. I like the way it insinuates that, give, and then naturally you'll receive. That's really cool.
Exactly.
Emily, we'll wrap up the episode here. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really fun to talk with you and just go through your experiences, how Hype Digital is really pushing everything through, your workflows, how you're connecting AI and how you're adapting to the world of AI. It's been great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks,
to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you as well. Thank you for your time and for listening to what Emily had to share with us today. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more conversations like this one. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.